Уважаемые коллеги, участники сессии «Новая логистика».
Dear colleagues, participants, welcome to this session on logistics and transport. We all realize that foreign trade is motivated to find new answers to logistic problems, and we now have a new window to strengthen trades and logistics in countries of the CIS in the OCS and creating the North-South corridor. We mainly focus on the development of services on the most promising transport routes. And we see that in Azerbaijan there's great potential to increase trade relations with Russia and its partners for also good transport. I daily work with transport companies, and I can assure you that we need logistic solutions that ensure speed in transport. So during today's session, we are going to examine the development of transport logistics in services as well, and how these flows can be organized and managed, and also how to improve the speed of these transport services. That is everything that is needed for the development of this corridor. I would like to introduce now the panelists. They are the main representatives of Azerbaijan and Russia. We have Mustafa, who's the Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Andrei Belozov, First Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation. We have operators of the Russian Railways, Vladimir Mikhailov, First Deputy Managing Director of Russian Railways, and we also have the head of the Azerbaijan Railways. The main logistic operators are represented as well with the company Trasco. Then we have Valentin Ivanov, Deputy Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, Rahman Humatov, Deputy Minister of the Digital Development and Transport of the Republic of Azerbaijan. We also have Vladimir Ilyichev, Deputy Minister of the Economic Development of the Russian Federation, and an important guest who works for the development of SMEs, Orhan Mamadov, Chairman of the Management Board of the Small and Medium Business Development Agency of Azerbaijan. Dear Mr. Deputy Prime Minister Mustafayev, I'd like to thank you and the government of Azerbaijan for your support and for your warm welcome we have received here in the beautiful Baku. Of course, we need to work to create ideal conditions for transport, logistics and trade based on the experience so far. I would like to leave the floor to you to open our session and start our discussion. Well, thank you, dear colleagues. I would like to extend my greeting and welcome you to the 15th Verona Forum. I am saying this one more time because yesterday I already spoke on this stage when I opened the forum with my colleagues, and yesterday I underlined the fact that it is not by chance that the 15th Verona Forum is taking place in Azerbaijan, in Baku. There are a number of reasons for that, in my opinion. First of all, Baku and Azerbaijan have been a place for geopolitical discussions for a long time. And the second reason is that Baku has accumulated a long experience in these sectors. In this session, we are dealing with a very important issue for Azerbaijan, considering its geographical position. Of course, logistics play a fundamental role for Azerbaijan. As you know, the country is placed in between Europe and Asia, and due to the geography of our territory, we have at least two important corridors going through our country: the north-south corridor, which is the one we're going to concentrate on now, and the international corridor that goes from east to west. In recent years, we have had to face new threats and challenges, including COVID-19 and geopolitical changes in the region and in the world. Azerbaijan can give its important contribution in this context at a regional level to help ensure sustainability and security in the whole world. The country has launched a number of projects linked to communication and transport services. So we play the role of a bridge between Asia and Europe. And as I've already said, it's a crossroads of several paths linking north to south and east to west. Azerbaijan has been using this advantage successfully. Last year, the volume of goods transported in our country has increased by almost 65%. This is an important increase, but it's not enough because our potential is much larger, and we need to exploit all of it. Today's initiative is precisely a way to do it. We are increasing volumes of goods transiting in our international Baku port on the Caspian Sea. It is a modern port, and port infrastructures allow us to transport up to 15 million tons of goods and 100,000 containers per year. But considering recent growth trends, we want to get to 25 million tons and 200,000 containers per year. We are also planning to build two new terminals for minerals and cereals. And I'd like to underline that in terms of infrastructure development, Azerbaijan has been doing a lot in recent years. In the last 20 years, and I'd like to underline this, we have built or renovated 15,000 kilometers of highways and 400,000 kilometers of railways. Furthermore, in Baku, we have a large shipyard that can build any type of ship, and I'm happy to say that we are discussing the possibility to cooperate with Russian colleagues for ship construction. On the Caspian Sea, the largest commercial port is an Azerbaijani one, but the current situation requires many different kinds of ships in order to ensure that the necessary quantity of goods are actually transported. At the same time, we attach great importance to the North-South corridor, which will unite continents. This corridor already has quite developed infrastructures using all highway and so road and rail transport facilities. Azerbaijan is working on both corridors quite a lot, and these two corridors will shrink distances and the time necessary for goods to travel from the Persian Gulf to Southern Asia and vice versa. We have built the highway bridge on the border between Russia and Azerbaijan, which is very important, not just for our two countries, but for the whole region. And we have links and railways linking us to Iran. And we have a railway hub that will be finished by next year. We have a highway bridge being built on the border with Iran. At the same time, we have already built a new highway between Baku and Astana in Kazakhstan. We are renovating the old highways from Baku to the Russian Federation, and by June next year, we will have a brand new highway linking the Russian border with Baku. So from the Russian Federation to Iran, we will have a direct route, about 500 kilometers. And in the past, this distance could be covered in around 12-14 hours by trucks. After all these routes will be opened, the same journey will require 7 hours, so half the time needed before.
We started to rebuild the railway in Jabar, and we are beginning with the railway to Sanat. We are studying different opportunities to see which one will be more convenient for transit transport. So we're trying to see what is more convenient in terms of time plus costs. And we will focus on the most convenient solution. According to forecasts, it is important to optimize the existing infrastructure and improving their transport capacity. We have working teams that are focused on this right now. Of course, the existing infrastructure is not enough. It's not just enough to upgrade them. They need to be managed effectively. And that's why we need to also have efficient customs and control points at the border. And we need to have a synchronous management on both sides of the border. And I mean Azerbaijan and Russia. We have plans to increase the passage capacity of goods between Azerbaijan and Russia. We'll try and solve the existing bottlenecks. A couple of days ago, we had a great opportunity together with the Russian delegation because we could visit the border together between Azerbaijan and Russia. And so we could see with our own eyes how the situation is monitored on site. At the moment, many trucks are stuck there at the moment, so we are looking for the bottlenecks. It was a very important trip, and I'm confident that very soon we will make operational decisions that will allow us to overcome and solve the existing problems, but also the issues that might cause problems in the future on the medium and long term. So as I said, we've created working groups that will try and optimize the management of the infrastructure. We have 3 control points along the highways and 1 along the railway. Chmut, Yerakazmaral on the 2 sides, and then Shiron on Azerbaijan, Novofile on the Russian side, Kharova on the Azerbaijan side, and Tagarkent, Kazminar on the Russian side. All 3 control points need to be synchronized on both sides of the border. So we've created master plans that have already been approved, and we think that very soon this will be implemented. I think that within a year, the synchronization of the control and passage points will be concluded. It is also very important to build highways, because in order to have trucks on the highways, all the necessary conditions must be in place. I've explained the Azerbaijani plans. We will hear more about the Russian plans from the next speakers, but I can already say that in Russia they're also implementing very effective measures to make sure that highways are taken away from city centers. And by the way, in Azerbaijan, we are trying to move all highways away from the city centers. As for the north-south highways, Baku-Astana and Samur to Baku, well, the highways don't cross any urban centers, whether it's big cities or villages. On September 9th in Baku, we had the first trilateral meeting for the development of the network. So we had Iran, Azerbaijan, and Russia that participated in these trilateral meetings. The agreement will be soon signed. It will be called the Baku Declaration. According to our analysis, our goal is by 2030 to bring the volume of transport up to 15 million tons, which is a good number. And I'm only referring to railway transport. If we keep into account that, thanks to the railway terminal in Iran built by Azerbaijan, we currently only have 150,000 tons of goods. Our goal is 50 million. Negotiations are currently underway, and I hope they will be positive. The idea is to build in the Ras al-Shara area according to our calculations. The investment won't be too high, but the outcome can be very, very positive. In Jabahar, in Iran, well, from there we are aiming at India and Southeast Asia, and then maybe African country can also exploit this corridor. Our end goal is to create an effective mechanism to manage the corridor. So let me repeat it once again. It is important to effectively and adequately manage these infrastructures. It's not enough to just set them up. We have these working groups studying the situation and the procedures for the development of these corridors. During the Baku meeting, we already agreed that we will meet again in Moscow in November. If not in Moscow, somewhere in the Russian Federation. The most important thing is that at the beginning of this procedure, at the beginning of the negotiations, we already obtained very positive outcomes. It's fundamental that we keep these meetings regular and that we work together in a productive and targeted way. This is what we are trying to do. So we are joining forces to have a productive dialogue with our partners in order to then achieve actual concrete results. We are confident that these transport projects are the prerequisite for a stable, foreseeable future in the entire Eurasian space, which is our end goal. After freeing the territories from occupation, we can see new positive perspectives. Yesterday, I talked about this in detail. I won't do the same, but I'd like to point out some points again. Unblocking communications and opening up new trade and transport ways is in the interest of all the countries in the region. There's no doubt about it. In the Southern Caucasus, in Azerbaijan, we are creating a crossroads of all international transports, and the economy of all the countries in the region will be able to benefit from this. This is very clear. I don't need to demonstrate it, because this is connected to the advantages of the geographical location we have here in Eurasia. Transport will play a fundamental role. We have two opportunities, and we are trying to work on both. Yesterday, as I mentioned, I talked about many details. The first thing that the declaration of the heads of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Russia of 9th and 10th November 2020, in particular point 9 of this declaration, says that all connections, all transport connections in this region should be unblocked, and this will certainly lead to effective and positive results for all the countries in the region, with no exceptions. Negotiations are underway. I already said it yesterday. Then there's a second area in which we are working. We are working on the connection between a region of Azerbaijan and Iran. We signed a memorandum of understanding with our Iranian partners. We've agreed on the format of this new transport route. We are planning to build a highway in Iran. I mean, the highways are there already. And we also have bridges and railways. Railways are what are missing, and so we need to build particularly railways. The highways are there, but with the railways and bridges, we are going to connect Azerbaijan with the autonomous region, and then we are going to open a direct connection through Javipur. with the international networks of the Republic of Iran to then move to the Persian Gulf and then all the way to the Indian Ocean. And also through Iran we can reach the Autonomous Republic and then the Persian Gulf, as I mentioned. We can go all the way through Turkey to the Mediterranean. You see how many doors we're opening. Building highway bridges or building a short railway. We are talking about 60 kilometers, it's not much, but with this connection, the route will give us additional benefits to all the participants in the process and to all the countries in the region. We've already started to build these highway bridges. They will ensure the quickest and most convenient connection between Azerbaijan and the Autonomous Republic. We believe that by 2024, in fact in 2024, the road will be there, the connection will be done, and thanks to this road it will be possible to access the markets in Iran, Turkey and Europe. Our country continues to work on the Zandejus corridor. That will also be an important part of the North-South corridor. We are working hard on these projects. We are restructuring the highway infrastructure and the railway infrastructure. I don't know whether restructuring is the right word, because normally you restructure a certain percentage, a certain part of an infrastructure. In our case, we are building a new road, really, because the entire infrastructure was terribly sacked. So I said restructuring, but it's really a matter of building. 124 kilometers of road between Radi-Zarbent. We already built 66%. 110 kilometers from Derak-Bizarment, which is at the border with Armenia and Iran. 110 kilometers, and in this case we've already built 38%. Dear colleagues, to conclude, once again I would like to say that Azerbaijan promotes food security and transport security to consolidate mutually beneficial relations. We are happy that we have all the prerequisites for further progress. The integration projects that we have been promoting show our desire and our wish for regional cooperation. The implementation of our plans, I believe, will improve our synergies. Thank you very much, and again I wish all success to the 15th Verona Eurasian Economic Forum. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Огромное, уважаемый Шахин Абдулаевич. Андрей Ремович.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mustafayev. Mr. Belousov, the transports from Russia to Azerbaijan and neighboring countries are showing a great growth dynamic. Imports are improving as well. What does business need? It needs speed and limited costs. There are other important factors as well. Mr. Mustafayev already highlighted the fact that in order to ensure continuity, it is very important to cooperate and coordinate the efforts of the interested countries that want to improve the network along the entire corridor. Of course, without this, it would be impossible to expand trade because that would always be logistic obstacles. So my question to you is to expand on this topic. And I kindly ask you to tell us something about the problems that our countries are facing and what kind of agreements are needed to overcome these issues. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will try and answer this question. Of course. Now, first of all, let me go back to what my colleague Mustafayev was already discussing. First of all, why are we here and why are we talking about the North-South corridor? Why are we doing it in Baku and not in Moscow or Tehran? Well, the answer was already given by Mr. Mustafayev, but I would like to repeat it once again. My colleague from Azerbaijan said that Azerbaijan enjoys a very good geographical position, which makes it a crossroads between large north-south and east-west corridors. I cannot question it, but I don't fully agree, because really it's not just about the geographic position. The advantage of Baku, it lies also in the huge work done by the state of Azerbaijan and its officials. Azerbaijan has been able to implement a series of investment projects, thanks to which Azerbaijan has become a very, very important logistic hub. It doesn't only have a regional relevance, it is globally important. We heard about the context. Mr. Mustafayev described it very well, and we heard about two projects. He was modest because we know that really there are 5 projects, north-south, and then the route Persian Gulf to the Black Sea. There are many other projects. The number of the projects is not important, though. What matters is what countries these projects cross, what countries are involved in these projects directly. In addition to Azerbaijan and Russia, we have China, Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Georgia, Armenia, Turkey. All these countries are involved. Plus the Eastern European countries. And, by the way, I've only mentioned the countries that directly participate in these projects and that use these routes and corridors. Thanks to the efforts of the people and officials of Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan has now become a strategic hub for all sorts of goods. In the first 9 months of this year, the transit of goods grew by 65%. And I would like to say that the potential of Azerbaijan has not been exploited to the fullest yet. What should we still do? Well, we need to exploit the potential that exists. The North-South corridor now has a particularly important role, not only because of the sanctions that have hit the Russian economy, but there's a deeper reason. We must keep in mind some fundamental changes that are happening in the world. and we need to keep into account that the axis is being shifted towards the Gulf countries and China. The transport infrastructure of Russia and other countries as well, that in the past was based on the principle of parallelism, is now changing. Because now this infrastructure does not meet the needs of current times, and therefore the corridors, the north-south corridor, is becoming particularly important. The north-south corridor reaches China, India, the Gulf countries. In the future, this corridor could become a competitor to the Suez Canal, because the only fully operational canal at the moment is the Suez Canal, but we know how risky it is to trust a monopoly. Recently, we saw what happened when we had an accident in the Suez Canal. We all saw what happened. The development of this north-south corridor largely depends on the interaction between Russia and Azerbaijan. And it doesn't really depend that much on the relations that our countries have with Iran. We believe that very soon the volume of Russian goods transported along these corridors will achieve 33 million tons, but half of this growth will have to be ensured by the western corridor that goes through Azerbaijan. In the Baku Declaration that my colleague mentioned before, already the declaration already says that by 2030 the west route of the north-south corridor needs to be expanded until to 15 million goods. We know that these numbers can be achieved because in the first 9 months the transport on railway accounted for more than 5 million tons, which means 57% more than the same period last year. In the world economy, this is unprecedented. We have never seen such a rapid growth, and I think we won't see the same for a long time. As for road transport in our country, we've seen 1.5 tons of goods transported on road. The index has tripled compared to last year. This is the basis for a further development of the corridor. In line with the mandate of the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, the Russian government has approved a detailed roadmap for the development of the north-south corridor. And to answer your question, Mrs. Nikishina, I have to say that in order to develop this corridor, some aspects are very important, and I would like to dwell on these. First of all, the development of the railway infrastructures to increase the capacity of the railway system.
The second point is the synchronization of the development of highway infrastructure. And this year we have already managed to double or strengthen our borders that can let up to 1,000 trucks a day through the border. The goal is to reach 1,700 trucks daily and keep growing in this direction. From this point of view, we are probably lagging behind compared to our Italian colleagues, but we will surely we will surely work hard to catch up with them. And the third point is that infrastructural solutions need to be integrated with measures aiming to minimize environmental damage and noise damage, noise pollution. And we need to consider tariffs. We need to find solutions to streamline custom procedures. And we need to strengthen all the payment mechanisms. Today, payments between Russia and Azerbaijan, 60% of the payments still happen using euro and dollar as currencies, but we don't belong to the European Union, so we can start using national currencies, so rubles and manat, and this will be in the interest of both countries. This is one of the key conditions for the further development of the transport corridors. We also need solutions for insurance and the digitalization of this sector. We need to introduce digital e-documents. For transport, we need transport to become much more much faster. And if we simplify all of these elements, we need to do it for participants and for all those who need to reach the border with Iran, and all those who are traveling further to the Persian Gulf or India even. We need to guarantee security, the speed, and we need to limit costs. So these are the three main elements that we need to implement. All the rest is made of problems that can be tackled: documents, mountain passes, border control, etc., and roads. All this can be solved. We would like also to make a proposal. Let us examine or consider the possibility to create a joint company between Azerbaijan, Russia, and Iran that should control all the phases of transport along the whole corridor. We already have an example, the UTLK company created by Russian Railways in cooperation with the Kazakhstan and Belarus railways. So we have this proposal. We should consider to do the same thing with Azerbaijan, considering that that company, that operator, would deal all the problems with transport, 2 ports and 2 railways. And now, to my colleague Mustafayev and other colleagues, I'd like to say that we are getting into a new era. Some people call it the end of globalization, but I would say that it's probably the beginning of a multipolar world. And in this situation, the Trans-Caucasus area and the Caspian area has the potential to become a great hub for growth and prosperity. And I am sure that only economic and humanitarian relationships will be the basis for this prosperity. Thank you. Well, thank you. We've already mentioned how railways are very important. They are strategic for logistics. They need to be fast and secure, but railway capacity is fundamental in Russia. But will this capacity guarantee all the tools can we invite our Azerbaijani friends to participate in joint projects? What problems do they need to face, though? What problems are there that need solutions in order to collaborate with our colleagues from Azerbaijan? I'd like to underline that we need coordinated efforts by all governments of the countries involved, because that's the only way we can find a solution. Well, thank you. And dear participants, I'd like to thank you all for, and thank Azerbaijan for welcoming us so warmly. It's a pleasure for us to be here at the crossroads of the main corridors that have become particularly important. I'd like to say that we've heard many times that Azerbaijan is fundamental in terms of railways. Azerbaijan has done a lot to work on infrastructures, and the figures that have been mentioned show that this is an exceptional trend between Azerbaijan and Russia. 87 to 90% of goods are transported through our railways. Of course, the Russian railways are doing their utmost to ensure the transport of goods all the way to the border with Azerbaijan. That is our main projects. We're focusing on, especially on the Derbent segment. The implementation of this project will enable us to reduce or avoid trains stopping. And we are also developing the Samura-Lama path for 15 million tons, as announced in the Baku Declaration. So we need to implement this. The general investment amount to 11 billion rubles overall. Our Azerbaijani colleagues are working in the same direction, and so we're working together to renovate the line from Baku. They're also moving towards alternated current, and to overcome all the bottlenecks that are still there and that should be eliminated by the end of 2030. Our government has already indicated all the priorities also in the multilateral and bilateral documents. Mr. Mustafayev has already mentioned this Refrostara line that will increase our potential. We are discussing the technical details of this, and we will soon reach important conclusions. But infrastructures are just one of the elements of logistics. We also need to consider the environment in which we are working, and convenience in payments, insurance, and information exchange at borders and customs. We believe we can always find the perfect solutions with our Azerbaijani colleagues. In the North-South corridor, our company has a pathway from Finland to India, going through Russia and Azerbaijan. We are also working for container services on both ways, going through Iran. The first containers have already been shipped because with the food and tiles. Of course, in this sense, we are working hard between the three countries involved in Russia, Azerbaijan, and Iran. As for tariffs, we are also working, and we have made progress already. As for the Russian and Azerbaijani railways, we have already agreed on discounts up to 50% for containers traveling from Moscow and St. Petersburg towards Moscow and St. Petersburg, leaving from Mumbai, and the Russian Export Center is helping us to do this, simulating export from the Russian Federation and within this north-south corridor towards Azerbaijan. We have signed a memorandum of understanding between Allianz Logistica, so the Russian railways, to send containers and trains in both directions. This MOU is also the basis for an agro-express transport. We are also looking for new paths, Baku-Tbilisi cars, and we hope these new routes will be soon opened. We're also interested in the Black Sea area. Our director is very interested in that area, and our director will make important investments next year. So we believe that thanks to our joint efforts, both Russia and Azerbaijan will take great advantage and reap benefits. Well, thank you. It's now high time to leave the floor to businesses. Allianz Logistica works on this route, collaborating with partners abroad. What are the goals of businesses to ensure speed, costs, and security for these goods? Well, thank you for your question. I will try and deal with all these three elements. But first of all, I would like to extend my greeting to you and all the participants in the forum, and thank you for allowing me to participate as well. I've listened with great interest, and I would like to also offer my opinion. I am the chairman of Allianz Logistics, and I represent the world of business. I would briefly like to share my view on the development of these corridors and routes. We're seeing a change that is happening on an important scale. Today, Azerbaijan is at the center of this change. The corridors are being developed, north, south, and east, west, through the Tbilisi-Kars line, and the corridor has been created after the liberation of the occupied territories, thanks to our army. And here, management conditions are important, as well as complementary infrastructures. So we are implementing projects that are very meaningful, such as the area of free trade, where the logistics center will be implemented that will become a hub for exporters. And on the north-south corridor, I'd like to say that today it is not just on the map, it's already reality. I participated recently in the forum organized by the Expert Center for Russia. Many countries are looking at this corridor, and it will become very important at a world level. As a representative of the business community, we are still seeing bottlenecks and problems from an infrastructure point of view. We are ready to help to eliminate them if necessary. We are also concerned because of the increase in tariffs. They are at times doubling or tripling with there are limitations and being operators operating within the railways, we would like to for us all to consider global prices, world prices, but also all the defects of railway infrastructures and all the deficits. So we would like to participate in finding a solution to all of these problems. In order to increase the volumes transported, and talking about transformation of the flows, we need to say that this is a difficult process and it's a slow one. It requires a lot of work and it's a team effort. As I said in the forum in Russia, we need a team effort that sees the participation of transport authorities that are not just the leaders of the territories, but as a single administration that can support logistics. Because all companies have an interest in increasing the volume of goods transported over these corridors. So public administrations have the possibility to bring about this change. The Trans-Caspian international route created by Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, with all the companies involved, including us, we have created a new consortium. And based on existing experience, of course, we will face difficulties and barriers. The member countries will have to overcome them one by one. We feel the growing support of the state and the business sector. And we're confident all these problems will be overcome. We would like all participants in the corridors focus their attention to overcome all of these existing problems, to open up new opportunities for development so that companies can organize their transport better and at a larger scale and in the long term. Alliance Logistics is taken as an example. Our volumes have increased several times thanks to several projects with high-speed trains and in collaboration with the Russian railways infrastructures. Thank you very much for your attention. Well, thank you, Mr. Gidarov. Now we have talked about the fourth parameter which should be included in your activity. So we should keep discussing this because it's absolutely fundamental. That is the business opinion. Of course, it's not easy, but entrepreneurs want to be involved, and we will pay attention to their ideas. The Trasco company has been working railway transport for more than 20 years. Then, based on your experience and expertise, what is your view on the development of logistic activities in the region? What decisions need to be made and implemented, in your view, to meet the goals set? Now we are discussing speed, security, reliability, and the opinion of business.
Well, dear colleagues, thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss with you about the changes in the field of transport on road in the Eurasian region. I would like to focus in particular on the changes that are relevant for Russian and Azerbaijani transporters and forwarders. In 2022, most forwarders worked on road in Europe and everybody was happy. The transports between Russia and Azerbaijan were in the hands of Azerbaijan, 70%, and Russia only had a small percentage because of several factors. In 2022, and the events in 2022 led to reviewing the priorities of Russian transporters. In light of the plans of the Russian government, transporters have shifted towards Eurasian routes. And so, for this reason, in the last 6 months, we've seen an increase of transport by more than 50%. Of course, this percentage is due not only to the movement of goods between Russia and Azerbaijan, but there's also a share that is due to transit between Russia and Turkey, Russia and Iran, and so this good transit through Azerbaijan. Oddly, the loads targeted to Turkey go through Azerbaijan, even though the road is longer by 1,000 kilometers. But this is due to a problem we already mentioned before, namely the non-sufficient capacity of mountain passes, in particular the one in Verkhney Las between Russia and Georgia. In this context, a problem is that we still don't have a synchronization between the two sides of the border, and so sometimes trucks are stuck for 7 days. They are stuck at the border sometimes for up to 7 days because of a lack of synchronization. And this, of course, impacts on the cost of goods. And if our products become more expensive because of longer times, then we lose competitiveness. So the problem of speed is problem number one. I would like to thank the Ministry for Transport of Azerbaijan and the similar for transport in Russia for their hard work. Now we are seeing a rapid growth, but this growth had some limitations, and the two ministries have been able to solve all difficulties in a very short period of time. If we continue this way, we will become more efficient and we will also reduce our costs. To conclude, let me assure you that transporters are willing to stand side by side with entrepreneurs if security ends ensured. Thank you very much for your attention. We still have two speakers for this session. We have representatives of the ministers of transport from our two countries. we have the Deputy Minister of for Transport, and I'm sure you realize that we still have many problems to be solved. We heard about the synchronization and coordination between the two sides of the border. You have the roadmaps, and I know you are in daily contact with our colleagues in Azerbaijan and in other countries in the region. So here's my question. What are the main tasks that the regulator is helping the interested parties to solve to ensure the transport chains until the neighboring markets? What are the next decisions that will be made? And I kindly ask to be very short, if you may. I will try and avoid repeating what my colleagues already said, because they've already analyzed every single aspect of the issue. As for the Russian Minister of Transport in corridors, 30 years ago, we signed the intergovernmental agreement for the creation of the North-South corridor. This 20 years will be celebrated, the 20th anniversary will be celebrated this year. We still see good perspectives and good prospects for what can be done in the next few years. The volume of transit will grow, will double or be even 2.5 times higher than it is now. This will have to be agreed, of course, with our colleagues, but that's what we can foresee. As for the faults in infrastructures, well, our roadmaps highlight all the existing structural problems. Because they are structural problems, we need long-term measures, long-term structural measures to improve the west part of the corridor. And by this I mean the improvement of railway transport, the improvement of the road transport, and also we need to improve the border mountain passes. We are already doing this. We have already increased by 2 times the capacity of transit. We are rebuilding the Caucasus Highway, which should go around all the main urban centers. The goal is to ensure the convenience and security of our network, and we want to avoid any delays in transport. Transport on road is something that we discussed several times. We need to simultaneously modernize our border structures. We heard that every day we have about 1,000 vehicles crossing the border. All cars are functioning, and next year we will see another 2 passes, and they, by the way, they will be rebuilt by 2026. In this way, this 1,000 cars a day that we have today will become more than 3,000. There's another aspect. We need to develop logistic services. We talked about the railway, and we believe it is important to have one single operator so that all the problems related to transit through Russia, Azerbaijan and Iran can be solved together according to the single approach method with no delay, so that all interested parties can have answers very quickly. The project of the single operator, This should have taken the form of a three-party agreement. We are already discussing this with our Azerbaijani colleagues, and we've already prepared a draft of the agreement. And now it's going to be analyzed by the interested parties. There's another aspect that I'd like to mention. We said many times that in transport we've already achieved a very positive dynamic. We can foresee a huge growth in the future as well. Right now, as countries, we must all believe in these future prospects. We must consolidate our agreements and we must continue to work together. On our side, we are very determined to continue our work. Mr. Mamadov, we talked many times about the problems, but we are already seeing outstanding results. The results of the work of the ministry where you work. Your ministry is called the Minister for Digital Development and Transport. Now, can you tell us something about the work of your minister to make transport more efficient? And can you also tell us how we can achieve a scale effect? How can we replicate these good outcomes achieved in the transport between Russia and Azerbaijan? How can this be replicated in other regions? And do you have a secret? Do you have a magic trick? Or do you have special skills that allows your minister not only to be a ministry for transport, but also for digital transformation? Thank you very much. Well, thank you, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all very much for inviting me here to this forum. After these distinguished guests, it is quite difficult to take the floor, especially when you're the last one in the panel. Now, in order to answer your question, I will try and be as exhaustive as possible. In a context of difficult geopolitical conditions, having this forum is particularly important in terms of looking for new possibilities in the field of logistics and transport, and it is also important to further consolidate our relations. The current level of cooperation between our countries and other countries in the region positively impacts on our commercial relations. The regional and global developments of recent years are showing that the strategy chosen by Azerbaijan is working. It is a strategy aimed at modernizing our logistic infrastructure. We are aiming at building new highways and modern railways. We are aiming at implementing new international airports. We are aiming at strengthening our fleets. We are expanding the port of Baku. We aim at creating free trade zones. All of this has contributed to turning Baku and Azerbaijan into an important logistic hub. Our possibilities go beyond internal demand, so we are thinking of possible international cooperations. The role of our country in international transport is growing, and very soon transit between our countries has also grown. We observed that in 9 months 7.5 million of tons of goods were transported, namely 65% more than the same period last year. On-road transport has grown more than 2 times, but it's clear that this is not the end of it. We can do much more. By the end of this year, we are expecting to double the railway transport. According to our calculations, the potential demand for transport in the corridors will continue to grow, and thus, by expanding the transport infrastructure, we also need to improve the quality of a service. We need to ensure reliability, speed, security of our transport. And we need to implement a coordinated policy in the field of tariffs. We are already implementing a set of measures in terms of tariff policies and also in order to simplify customs procedures. This can be seen as an answer to your question on the meaning of digital development that is also managed by a ministry. Now, we have seen that digital technologies are used everywhere, but first and foremost, digital technologies are used in the field of transport. And this makes transport more efficient. We also need to solve bottlenecks and fill the gaps, many of which have already been illustrated by my colleague Mustafayev in particular. One of the bottlenecks has to do with the Melamay terminal and also the railway terminal in Astaram. As a consequence, the construction of the railway of the Gojang-Gejur will allow us to have a north-south line that runs smoothless and without any contacts. We can't do everything by ourselves. It takes cooperation among all players and regional actors. These projects must also promote the freedom of trade, technological exchange, and the development of a mutually profitable cooperation between the countries crossed by the corridor. To conclude, I'd like to say that we want to keep on having an active role to develop transport, and this will have a positive impact on the potential of our region. Thank you very much for your attention. Well, I would say that the discussion that we've had today was very important, and it will be useful to define the current agenda, an agenda that will focus our attention on the necessary actions, the necessary joint action. Having this kind of discussion is helpful to identify bottlenecks and problems and find joint solutions. I hope that with this panel we've been able to stress once again the importance of working together as a guarantee of having efficient projects to make the 4 pillars we mentioned reality. I would like to thank all the panelists. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you to Deputy Minister Mustafayev for hosting this forum here in Baku. I hope that these events can become a regular meeting, and in the time between meetings we can all work in order to solve existing problems or whatever problem might arise. Thank you all once again.